G'day, Ben from Duck Playing Chicken here, starting to assemble the Perfect Grade Unicorn. So everything's been painted and I intend to use the lighting kit to light it up as well. So I'm going to start off with one of the legs, and I think when it comes to the legs and arms, I'll build one on camera of each and then the other one I'll do off camera just to save a bit of time. Before I get started with the actual assembly, I want to talk a little bit about the lighting unit. So when I first bought this kit, I bought it with the Bandai LED unit, which has got some issues, and it's more about the way the wires are sort of fed through the different parts of the frame, and you'll see that as I'm putting it together. However, it was the official Bandai lighting kit, and when I disassembled the kit as part of painting it and getting it ready to go, I actually destroyed some of the wires. So I want to just give you a bit of a warning. If you are building this kit and you're putting the lighting kit, the lighting unit in it, the LED unit, just be aware that if you're going to disassemble it and pull the LED unit out, sometimes that can be really tricky and you may damage the wires. So just be very careful with that. So I had to get a replacement, and unfortunately these things are pretty rare as hen's teeth at the moment. At the time of this video, there weren't any in stock in Hobbylink Japan. So, and they were going for a fortune on eBay. So what I ended up going was something that I don't normally do, which is go with a knockoff product. So this is a well-known knockoff company. I don't want to sort of advertise them too much, but it is essentially a direct clone of the Bandai LED kit. I've tested it first and it all lights up. It seems to work okay. The wires are the insulation on the wires are a little bit thicker, so I suspect I'm going to have some more issues feeding it through. But yeah, I just couldn't get my hands on the Bandai one at the moment, so we do what we have to do. Okay, so get started. I'm going to start with the leg. And in fact, starting with the foot. So I've pre-painted all the parts. They're all decaled, ready to go. So now it's just a matter of going through and putting it all together. Now I have 1,000,001 parts in front of me. Sometimes I've separated them out, sometimes I haven't. So we'll see how we go. Okay, starting off with this part, which I believe is the heel. And need a couple of these PC parts, which will effectively create the hinge for the heel. I should also point out I do have a couple of tools ready to go as part of this. So you can see I haven't got that PC polycat lined up properly. So what I have handy is just a pair of needle nose pliers, and it just makes it a little bit easier for turning them around to make sure they're lined up properly. Another tool that's really handy is a part separator. So this comes with the LED kit. These come in a number of kits, certainly the lower level kits, I think the mega size and those sort of things. Now if you can't get your hands on one of these, or if you haven't got one, the other thing you can use is the tools they use for separating mobile phone cases, like a spudger kit, and they'll do the same job. So you can get them readily on eBay. And of course these things are really fiddly, so them on there. Line it up with what we're doing here. Okay. go. Have I got the wrong polycaps on those? Don't think so. It should just go in there. And I should say, for anyone who's starting out with Gunpla, I certainly wouldn't recommend starting out with this particular kit. Perfect grades are generally straightforward to put together, but this kit is quite complex even for a perfect grade. So just get that seated in there. Make sure that works. And so eventually, what it'll do is curve right around. Now, of course, because everything's been painted, some of the joints and stuff are a bit tight, but that's usually not too much of an issue. I did cover up all the pegs and the holes with blue tack before painting them, so there shouldn't be any issues with getting pieces together when it comes to putting the pieces together where the pegs need to go into the holes. Right. So on the frame, I do have some colour separation. It's a little bit difficult to see, but basically this piece here is a lighter metal. So you're not going to see much of it. The good thing about this kit is that it has multiple sort of modes, if you like. Of course, the unicorn has the psycho frame in it, so it kind of opens up. It starts off in unicorn mode, and then all the panels sort of separate out, and it becomes goes into, what is it, burst mode or something, and then full burst mode. It gets even, expands even more. So it looks pretty spectacular when it's sort of done. I need to work out where that's going. There we go. I certainly recommend just double checking where pieces need to go before you sort of press them in hard. The instructions, they're all sort of CG rendering, so sometimes it's not as clear as some of the sort of other Bandai instructions that are out there. And I'll point out some of the really difficult ones because this is not the first time I've put this kit together. So I'm already sort of aware of some of the potential issues that come into play. Right. This one and this one. The thing that I really do like about the Gunpla models, and certainly when you get into the master grades and perfect grades where they have the inner frames that you put the armor on, you just get to appreciate the amazing engineering that goes into it. There we go, get some on the foot. And as a fan of seeing how things work, I'm a big fan of the master grades and perfect grades because you get to see basically the insides of them, the guts of how they work. Okay, what am I looking for? This particular piece. Looks like it. Need that one. Pieces all over the place here. And that one. Where is it? Okay. So putting polycap within a hard plastic piece there. And this, I believe, is going to be part of the swivel system of the ankle joint. And normally when you're building these things, you just want to be aware that you shouldn't need to really force anything. And I'll show you where they indicate where you need to sort of push a little bit harder just to get something to click into place. So you have a little punchy indication on the instructions. The other thing I tend to use tweezers. Let's see if that's not lining up properly, so I just need to tweak it a bit. So we can see this little bit of track here. This will actually push further into this part, and that's where you need to give it a little bit more pressure just for it to actually click into place. But normally things will fit quite nicely. And certainly when you're not painting your kits, if you're just putting a matte varnish over them, you'll find the kits will go together fine. You'll not have any sort of real issues. So now we've got, and if anyone can tell me what the little wing flaps, these little things are on the feet, I'd love to know. I just call them, like foot wings or something. Make sure I'm getting this around the right way. I seem to remember, I need to check which way these rotate up. I think they rotate counterclockwise, if I remember rightly. So I just need to make sure they'll be able to do that. There we go. Alright, so will I rotate this thing? Oop, right. So again, this is more just the paint that's probably a bit more, has tightened it up a little bit. Yes, that's not, that's not right. Right, I think we'll leave that for now. Which slides over here, and this is an example of the engineering that goes into these kits. Is these two bits here, these two sides are sort of sandwiched together with that pulley cap in the middle, but this end cap goes over here to help keep it together in place. So I think that's great. It also covers up those those join lines between two parts. Alright, so here we can see an example of the where we have to click something in place. Where is it? Yeah, this little pudgy. So basically click. You need to click it into place. So what we're doing here is bringing this piece down and going to give it, there we go, and pudgy. And so it still moves up and down on that track, but it's actually trapped in there because there's a peg. Alright, next we have a psycho frame part. missing here? What have I done? No, there we go. Okay, so psychofriend part, and the other cool thing about these is that they're actually they react to UV light. So if you put a UV light up against them, they actually really glow in this beautiful iridescent glow. Okay, so this piece slides in here. If I remember rightly, this was probably a bit tight. So you can see that back little bit of track there that it's supposed to run on. I'm just going to make sure it goes in there all the way. There we go. And just make sure that that heel can fold up. And that's the other thing. Another way to sort of check that you're on the right track is you can check the you know, all the parts the way they're supposed to move as you sort of go. So I'm starting to get something that looks like a foot. So that's where you can probably see where it's a bit more obvious, where I've done some colour separation on the frame parts. A little bit more obvious. And of course we've got very few sort of bits of actual colour on this kit. And it's a very white suit, and you know, it's got sort of accents of the blue, and then I painted one part red, I think, for the bazooka ammunition. Again, you don't really want to sort of force anything, you just want to move it around gently until it sort of finds the groove that it's supposed to slide in, or the peg that it's supposed to line up to. Now we've got the crazy little wing parts, the feet wings, or I don't know what they're called. It's just a little bit of extra decoration, I guess. And drop it on the floor. Try that again, shall we? Alright, so which parts do we put in first? We put in the big parts first, make sure we've got them lined in the right orientation. Yeah, so these things sort of kick up in its burst mode or overexcitable mode, whatever it's called, and then they sort of slide down when he's in unicorn mode. Be something a bit more sensible, kind of like the loud sneakers on a Gundam. Right, so those two in place, and then make sure we get these around the right way. Right, you can also see the colour separation I've done between the sort of off-white and the white, and you'll get to see a lot more of that. Hopefully it's come up okay. You sort of don't know truly until you've actually try and lift these guys up a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check what's supposed to happen with the feet when it's in burst mode, because when you're dealing with painted surfaces, you don't want to sort of move them in and out all the time. You'll start wearing away your paint, chipping it away, and of course you don't want to do that. What I'm looking at here is what happens to the legs, and I can see with the feet part, these parts, just having a look at what's going on. Okay, so they actually tend to point down, not up. So what's going on? So, so these actually need to point down, is that right? Yes, they do. They need to point down. So take these off. So I actually need to tilt that way. Again, a lot of this is just so that I'm not scratching a surface. I'm not, I'm not going to be, once I've got this set up, it's not going to be sort of moved around or anything like that. So I just want to make sure I've got it right first, and the way I want to display it. Okay, all right. I think that's a foot. I think that'll do for now. We've got the ankle to move on to. So we've got the start of the ankle guard. I do apologise for how long it's taken for these videos to come out. I kind of made a bit of a mistake, I think, setting up a new YouTube channel and put out a few videos in fairly quick succession and then take forever to put out some more. But as you could probably understand, there's quite a bit of work in a perfect grade, so it's taken me a while to sort of get these videos done. I mean, I'm fortunate in the respect that I have a dedicated space for modelling. I also have enough time to sort of do this hobby, thankfully. But it still takes a while. I think I'm up to about maybe 85 hours on this kit, maybe a bit longer if you include the initial assembly of the kit before I painted it. So yeah, quite a bit of time in it. Okay, so this bit, if I remember rightly, is two different width, two different sort of width hinges, if you like, hinges, pivots. So I just need to make sure I got the right ones. Yeah, so you can see there's sort of, you've got more bulk on one pair compared to the other. So, let's see, the top one, I believe, is the thinner one. Let's start with that. And we've got the poly cap. Slide that over. Make sure I've got the right orientation for this particular part. different sizes, aren't they? That's the problem when you when you build it and disassemble it. Yeah, you got no way of tracking what the part numbers are and what have you, so you might run into some trouble. Okay, that seems promising. Squeeze it together. Just double check the orientation of that. Yep, that's all good. We'll do the other one. Now, this kit's kind of interesting, the fact that it has some poly caps, so these are on the PC runner, but then it also has these, what they call POM, which is slightly different colour, but it feels like a similar material, so I'm not sure why they've sort of, you know, called one PC and one POM. They might be slightly different materials, but to me they sort of feel the same. And I'm not sure if there's any sort of real difference as far as, you know, if you use them on one side or the other. Just follow the instructions and say put PC on this side. Oops, following up. Make sure it's in place, and then just squeeze this one in. I've got to say, I do really love these SMS lacquer paints, just as far as how durable they are. And I know that's the case with lacquer paints in general. In my experience with you know, building Gunpla and with acrylics is that they are so susceptible to you know, so susceptible to being scratched and what have you. Right, this place is these two sandwiched together. This makes this sort of super industrial looking ankle joint. Need to make sure that you've got it in the right orientation, because it's a bit narrower at the top compared to the bottom. And this is where we take the smaller one at the top, slots in there, the larger one at the bottom. And then to sandwich it all together, we've got a couple of poly caps that we put in here. And then we sandwich a whole lot together. Just make sure that I've got, yep, the right way around. And here we have very solid, very industrial looking ankle joint. And that's very cool. Okay, so now we attach the ankle. And then we have this piece, which is the sort of guard that comes down over the top of the foot. And so that'll really come into play when you sort of fold this up under the bottom of the leg. And that's our foot completed. So I'll put that to the side. So the next part is to start on the leg itself. Now there are a number of parts that I didn't actually paint, either because they're never seen or because they are going to be in a place where they're going to be moved quite a bit. So the pond go in here. Just not sure what's going on there. But yeah, a number of parts I haven't painted. Obviously the polycap pieces I never painted, but there is also this component which is one of the main pivots for the hip, for where the legs join the hips. There's no point painting it, you're never going to see it, and yeah, it's going to get quite a bit of movement. I think I've just discovered why these polycaps don't fit in here is because I've actually kept them on this particular piece. So it's going to make life a bit easier. Just need to make sure these polycaps are lining up properly. Squeeze that on so much for just wheeling it on. So I just need to make sure that this polycap here is lined up to the inside of this. It also has to be lined up to the matching piece on the other side. There we go. Alright, so again we've got two pieces that are, sandwiched together, and potentially that could be a weakness. Certainly if you, you weren't going to glue it or whatever, which in most cases and for gunpla stuff you don't need to glue it. But what they've done is they've included a piece which basically goes on the back here and sandwiches it together so it doesn't actually come apart. And it's just another opportunity for a bit of colour separation in there. So that's the top of the hip joint there. Put that to the side. And we have a psycho frame and a thruster bell. Thruster bell goes in here. Yeah, it was a bit hard to see, but I've kept a little bit of colour separation. It's actually quite dark in there for, you would expect it would probably get quite hot. So I just kept it black in there. Psycho frame on the back leg wing. What do you call that? Calf wing, maybe? I don't know, I'm sure they all have very technical names. I should also point out that for the case of the legs and certainly the arms, there's a lot of parts where you're duplicating them, where you're doing two, and so that way you're sort of building both legs at the same time, but I'm just building one and I'll build the other one off camera. Okay, so I'll put that to the side. Start with one of these pieces. Okay. And we have one of the clips at the bottom. Now I did put very few water slide decals on the frame, so there's a couple of bits. I knew that this piece would be visible. Also on the elbow and the knee joints, I've also put decals because I knew they were going to be seen. So just add that little bit of extra detail to the inner frame. pieces. And just make sure everything sort of fits nicely and snug. Alright, so now we've got some pieces that are quite fiddly. So that one with a little hook. So that just feels very loose. I'm not sure if that's right. Hard to tell. One of these pieces I think I broke when I was disassembling it. So that might be an issue. Anyway, we shall see. And the other thing with this part is that it has a couple of the small psycho frame parts that attach to the ball joints. Pair. I think they're the same. Right. So these go on. Now they talk about snapping this in place first, but I seem to remember that actually wasn't particularly helpful. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cheat and put the top part on as well. So the armor piece. Because I just remember, I seem to remember all the stuff was pretty fiddly when I was first putting it together. So let's see if we can snap this down. Snap. Yeah, so they should pop out. These things should fold in. Maybe I got the wrong ones in. Because that should. That was great. I've been prattling on to myself for the last probably hour, assembling the leg, trying to get the wiring sorted out for the LEDs, and the camera wasn't recording, so I apologise for that. So I think basically I got up to where I was working on these particular parts of the leg, and certainly these little hatches that were giving me some dramas. So in the meantime, I have actually constructed the knee armor pieces, the substrate for the main part of the leg, and also the wiring as well, which has proven to be an absolute nightmare. So I apologise, I got none of that captured on camera, which I'm really annoyed about. But anyway, we will keep going, and I'll just need to make sure I keep an eye on the camera to make sure it is actually recording and not just give me a live preview. So where I've got up to is basically the end of the lighting, and I've had all sorts of dramas getting this stuff to fit. And so I don't know if I've damaged the wires to the point where it doesn't work. I suspect that might indeed be the case. So basically now it's just a matter of me sort of setting up the armor components around the lighting. So to work out where these pieces go, I think they go up this level. But yeah, I've got to say the wiring in this is a nightmare. And if you're really not interested in doing lighting, then don't worry about it. I mean, it's a great, it's certainly a great display piece without the lighting. So you're not going to miss out if you don't actually go through with it. I mean, it's also a big outlay for the wiring kit. And if you have sort of dramas putting it together, yeah, it's not much fun. Not much fun. There we go. Let's let that go in place. I'm not sure which side. I think it's supposed to go that side. Alright. We're supposed to lift this up as far as it goes. Put this piece of armor on here. That is not on properly by a long shot. And the problem when you're putting a lot of these things together is you can't actually see where the issue is. Now I know for this particular piece I've got 4 pegs that I've got to get to line up. But yeah, trying to actually see sort of behind the scenes of what's actually going on there is problematic. So yeah, when you can't tell what's not lining up behind it. Oh, there we go. Did that work? It feels very tight. Just scratched off a little bit of paint, but I think we can live with that. So that gives you an idea what it looks like with Psycho frame exposed. And in this bit, should slide on up here, snap on, because it actually sort of lifts out like that and locks everything in place. So I'm going to basically put this together so that it's all sort of fully expanded, that all the Psycho frame is exposed, because I don't really want to go back and mess about with it. So I might as well do it while I'm building it. Alright, so now thankfully I can get on with the rest of the build. So because I've messed up a lot of the recording that I was doing, and I don't know what happened there. I don't know what I've already spoken about. So if I repeat myself, I apologise. I will try not to though. So I'm interested if anyone out there has managed to see any of the 1-to-1 scale of the Gundams, because they are impressive. I haven't seen the new walking one. The first one I saw was the RX-782, which was in Odaiba, and then they put in the Unicorn to replace it. So I've seen both of those, but I haven't seen the new walking one yet. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get a chance to get back to Japan to see it before they pull it down. So I'm hoping they kind of extend it, how long it's on show for, because yeah, I'd really like to see that one. I think what they do with Gundam is a lot more impressive than what they've done with Godzilla. In 2004, when I was in Japan, you know, it was sort of big celebrations because it was 50th anniversary. And so there was a lot going on around Godzilla. The actor who played the original Godzilla, he was doing a tour, and so, you know, obviously it was very popular. But I thought it was a good opportunity to sort of see what sort of stuff is around. And there's a statue of Godzilla in Tokyo, signifying the 50-year anniversary, and it's tiny. It's this little bronze statue, and I was so underwhelmed. Thankfully, I think it's the name of the cinema, where they've got a big Godzilla on the top. It's just a Godzilla head and his hand reaching over. That's a lot more spectacular than the bronze statue of Godzilla. So thankfully with Gundam they've sort of got to some 1-to-1 scale stuff, which is a bit more impressive, and I wouldn't expect that for Godzilla. I mean, Godzilla's bigger, you wouldn't want a 1-to-1 size, but alright. So what am I up to? I'm up to down here. I can get some of these other side parts on. Up. Try and get that into place without making too much of a mess. I think I may have to collapse all this down. I'm going to make it a little bit easier to put these Lego armor plate pieces in place. Both sides. Taking what look like little beta wings and in place. Doesn't seem to be something down. What is that? It'd be enough to get these in place. So let's line up these pegs as best we can. There we go. This little piece here will lock the height in for the piece, so that the leg stays at that same height, and with the weight being pushed down on it, it doesn't so it doesn't mess it up. Yeah, for future videos, you know, once I get a few more subscribers, that sort of thing, I'm happy to do live builds if people want to see that. You know, if you want to see me building this stuff in real time and talking to you, that sort of thing, that's something I'm certainly interested in giving a shot. Oh, look at all the mess that's packed in there. That is amazing, just for a leg, essentially. Alright, okay, now this is a dog of a part of the process, if I remember rightly, because everything has to kind of clip into place. He's definitely saying that this is the last piece that has to go in. But getting it all to match up and get in here without forcing anything too much. Let's see. I'm going to pull this piece right out. Just seems difficult to sort of get everything lined up while it's still in place. And a lot of this is sort of the what brings it all together. So it's really important that you get it all lined up and inserted, you know, all the pegs and stuff lined up in the right spot. I'm really struggling here. Camera, I apologise for that. I'm not sure it's just a bit down here. It was, it's causing more grief. Just seems to be something preventing it from staying there. Feels like it kind of wants to go, but then something hard there is scratching up the paint, which drives me up the wall. Just cannot see what is preventing it. And the problem is I can't take one of these side pieces off. Because it actually sort of goes down on top of them. Can't really sort of see if there's any issues in there. I don't know if I force it. I'm going to regret it. Maybe if I could take these things out. Right out of the way. Maybe that might be. That may be a way forward. Just to see if it gives me any more yeah, it feels like it wants to go. think it might be this bit here that's the issue. I think there's like this clip here, and that's supposed to go into this bit. I wonder if we can get that in first somehow. That might be a trick. No. Nope. So I've got to get a snap in there. It's definitely a problem. Mind you, if I have that out of the way, it should clip in fairly easily then, and then I can try to clip it in. So I should be able to get this in like that, maybe. Oh, this is infuriating. So maybe those of you who are thinking about getting one of these, you might have some second thoughts. Because this is silly. Oh god, that just clipping then. Oh, did that work? Did that work? Lordy Lord, I think it might have. It's still not in properly. Yeah. It's close. Yep. Okay, so the way we can, yeah. So that's the problem. Is that it's not clipping in there. Yeah, it's very difficult to see. I apologise, but there's a. It's going to get different, slightly different angle here. It's hard to see, but there's a frame bit that needs to clip into a like a C clip. Yep, there we go. That doesn't work. Okay, so I think that worked because you can start to see the effect of the knee. Now there's a click in there and there shouldn't be. I don't like the sound of that click. Alright, so there's a bit where I have to clip the knee into place somehow. I can't remember where that is. Yeah, so there we go. This bit here. So I've got that. Should click in somewhere. Pull this guy out. Put that on the side. And then we'll clip that in somehow. I'm not sure how that's going to work. That's good. Okay. Nope, that's not the way it's supposed to go. Let's go in here. Okay. What's supposed to happen? That doesn't sound good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the other one that I've already done and have a quick look. Here's one I prepared earlier, and yeah, I think that's actually right. I think that's the way it's supposed to look. I think it should be all good. Should be all good. Alright. So as frustrating as these things can be, you do get a huge sense of satisfaction, of course, once you have actually finished it. Alright, just going to sort out what's going on in here. Because that doesn't... Oh, there we go. That's it, sound better. Alright, so I think we are at the point where we can connect the leg bone to the ankle bone. Yes. All right. I'm sorry, I'm going to do this on camera because I need to put some downward force on it. Okay, so here we have a completed unicorn leg, and I need to open up all those little guys. This one's going to be a bit loose, I think, but not much to do about that. That's what you get for pulling apart your models and put them back together again, painting them. Ooh, that's locked in there good. Yeah, lift it. I know there's been a couple of, I guess, more toy-like versions of the unicorn released. I'd be interested to know what sort of detail they go into with those. This is, because a lot of this stuff is very, you know, kind of fiddly and I don't think this thing would work as an action figure as such, because it's got too many moving bits and too many complicated things going on, especially if you're basing on the perfect grade. That'll do. Okay, so that's the two legs done. The next thing is for me to do the arms. I've already built one of the arms, so it's just going on with the next one, and of course that has lighting in it as well, so I'm sure that will be a bunch of fun-filled activities.